I got stuck in this duality of mind between who I was, who I am, and who I wish to be. So it created this real bad social anxiety of not knowing how to interact anymore.
And how did you eventually get over that and learn how to interact with people?
It's something I'm getting better with, but it's also something that I'm still dealing with.
Call from
Richard. Oh, shit, dude, I called you 30 times trying to get into this bitch. How you doing?
What's going on, my dog? How can I be a lizard on the phone with you today, my good sir?
In all honesty, I just really wanted to talk to you. You seem like a really cool dude. I really appreciate the advice and the perspective from your podcast, and I'm a really big fan. And I have like a few things we could talk about, or we just talk about nothing significant and just bullshit.
Well, thank you for the kind words, man. I'm trying my best. Well, let's see. You see, I'm picking up some vibes from you immediately. Not in
I'm a little
weird
nervous.
way, but...
I'm a little nervous. I got anxiety. So
Okay.
have
we ever spoken? Have we ever spoken before?
No, we haven't. But I get that a lot from a lot of people. I don't know. I have a very welcoming demeanor, I guess.
What's your name?
Richard.
Richard. Well,
Yeah,
you said
Heinous.
you said you had a couple of things you wanted to talk about. Why don't you hit me with one?
I'm thinking about quitting my band that I've been with for like 9 years now. I'm in this reoccurring cycle with someone that's a situationship that I like this person and they want more from it than what I do, but at the same time it's like, I don't know, I don't really feel that way towards them, but I do like them a lot. And also, I don't know, I'm really just trying to balance out my life, like that perfect balance of work, play, family, friends, alone time. And I've had a real hard time socializing. There's kind of a whole backstory to that one where something happened and I ended up in a personality crisis, so to speak.
A personality crisis?
Yeah, so a long time ago, I started meditating and stuff and peered into my ego and saw like this black pit just expand into it, and I knew immediately what it was. And ever since then, I've been working on this path towards enlightenment, so to speak.
Okay, and how did this lead to a personality crisis?
Well, okay, so real talk, growing up, I didn't have the best role models and ideas of what things were, you know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
You kind of grow up with this sense of what is right, and then when you get older, you realize what you think is right is wrong. And, I always tried to become something that I wasn't, and then I realized that, I was becoming something horrible. Like, I woke up one day and I realized I had become everything I hated. Despite everything I tried to do, became everything I hated. And I just saw the end line in that, and I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. So I changed, and that was 2017, and it led towards this really big progression in myself, but I got stuck in this duality of mind between who I was, who I am, and who I wish to be. So it created this real bad social anxiety of not knowing how to interact anymore with people.
And how did you eventually get over that and learn how to interact with people? Or is that something you're still dealing with?
It's something I'm getting better with, but it's also something that I'm still dealing with. What I ended up doing is this, right? You can't live in the past. What I did in the past and what anyone does in the past, you know, you don't have to be that person. You have to take accountability for your actions. And I do believe that, you know, like you should apologize if you need to or do something. But, you know, like the real apology is changing and acknowledging what you did wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do I say it? Sorry, I'm getting kind of bottlenecked in my head with it. It's a lot to explain. But basically what I said is this, is that I'm not that person anymore. I've changed a lot. There are a lot of people out there who don't know me because I don't really hang around with those people that I used to. And, you know, like, I like myself, and a lot of people like me. I'm a very friendly dude. I'm kind of weird and awkward sometimes, but, like, real talk, you know, like, a lot of the problems I suffer from are problems that I can't let go of and I make in my head, you know?
How old are you, Richard?
35.
35?
Yes.
And I'm just gonna ask some questions. I want to know who you are. What do you do for work?
I work in a machine shop. It's nothing great. It's not what I want to do, and that's another thing I'm trying to get out of. But I also, getting out of the shop is hard. I lived my whole life thinking I wasn't going to make it this far, the whole punk rock lifestyle of live fast, die. Then I made it this far, and I have a kid, and I'm like, I don't want to die anymore. I want to live. So now I'm stuck here, like, kind of organizing my life at 35, and it is overwhelming.
So let's talk. This is interesting. So you mentioned that you were in a band.
Yeah.
And you were living how long have you been in this, like, punk rock scene for, living fast and doing such and such?
Living it, and so I found out about punk at 12. It was Black Flag, Anti-Flag, stuff like that. And then that was like, that's all I wanted to do was play punk music. And then I started going to shows and hanging out about the age of 15. And that's when I really I just dove forced into it and was like, fuck it, this is me, this is what I'm doing, and I loved it. And, like, that was all fun and games until, you know, like, witness a lot of people dying. You also see a lot of people that are kind of hypocritical, and then you realize, like, oh, shit, I am just like this person. And then, like, the people you idolize, you're like, why am I idolizing this dude? He's a fucking horrible person. Like, sorry if I'm getting a little sidetracked or anything or off topic.
Well, so when did you have your kid?
I had my kid young. I was 21 when she was born.
Oh, shit. Okay, so you've had a kid for a long time.
Yes.
Okay, and how has that affected your life?
It made me think less selfishly. I didn't want my daughter to watch her dad grow up through a jail cell.
Okay.
And it also made me think about, you know, because, like, it made me think about real talk. It made me think about, like, how I treated women and how I treated others. And, you know, like, do I want my daughter to see her dad doing this shit? Or do I want, you know, because what she sees me do, she's going to see in other people, and that's going to kind of determine normality for her.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want her thinking that normal was, you know, like, getting in fights and getting black out on drugs and shit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, you know, I'll say this, I never wanted a kid, but now that I have her, I couldn't picture my life without her, and she's honestly changed me for the better.
Is the mom still around?
Yeah, we're not together, but we get along really well now. We actually have, like, a really nice relationship with each other.
That's great. What it was, yeah. What was it like having a daughter at 21? That sounds like it was intense.
First, okay, I'm gonna say it real, but like it was hard because, like I said, I didn't want a kid. I never wanted a kid. You know, like I wasn't a good person to have a kid because, like I said, I was living to die, and I was with this girl. We were in high school together, kind of high school sweethearts, and we were together for a while, and that's a whole nother story. Like I kind of got sober for a while for her, and we lived together, and for a while it was a really codependent relationship. I lived at her house, I didn't see any of my friends, I didn't go out, didn't do anything, and I started to get really unhappy because, you know, I wanted to go out and do stuff. I'm young at that age, and then I'm going to leave out the details on how, because, like, there's my theory, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Like, she got pregnant, but she knew I was trying to leave. And so, you know, she got pregnant, and I think she kind of thought that it would save the relationship. I don't know. I can't really talk for her. That's just, like, my impression. But lo and behold, it didn't, because you can't save a relationship with a kid. And we ended up splitting up. And I'm not going to lie, first couple years, you know, like a dog off the leash, I went out and I partied. But like in the back of my head, it was like, man, I got a daughter. I can't be doing this shit. And so like I kept trying. So eventually I came around and I was like, you know, I want to be a part of my daughter's life. My dad wasn't there for me too much. And I wanted to be better than that. I wanted, you know, she didn't ask to be brought into this world. It wasn't her fault that me and her mom had unprotected sex. So, like, I really decided that, you know, like, I wanted to be there for her and all that. So I kind of just stepped up and was like, fuck it, you know, like, I have this kid. And I kind of found this balance between going out and having fun in the punk rock lifestyle, but not going overboard and still being there for, like, dance recitals and cheerleading games and all that shit. But, so, I don't know, I can kind of segue that into the band if you want.
Sure. I mean, yeah, sure, go ahead.
So I've been with this band for 9 years. It's called EKG. Check us out. We're really fucking fun. The lineup we have right now is the best we've ever had. We've gone through a lot. There's only 2 original members left, me and the guitar player, the 2 originals. We have a new drummer and a new bass player that have been there for like 3 years. And that's been, music is like my life. You know, like if I had the opportunity in life, I just make music. I love it. I love music. I love making it. I love playing it. I love writing it. And so I put a lot of my heart and soul into this band, but, you know, a lot of the stuff I was writing, I was also, wouldn't say out of control. I was casually using like acid and mushrooms, you know, not like, oh my God, overdoing it like every night, but, you know, go out here and there when I had the night to myself or with friends. You go out, you party, you come home, you fucking sober up for like a week, and then, you know, kind of ride that line. But I recently am except for weed, I'm completely sober now for like 3 or 4 years. I had the self-realization, and like, even though I wasn't using it too much, I was like, you know, I had never really been sober for a very long time, and I wanted to do it. A lot of my friendships felt like they were more based around like us just getting high together. We weren't doing anything horrible, but like it wasn't really anything productive either. And so, you know, my bandmates, great guys, love them. You they like to have their fun every now and again. And me, I don't have that kind of, my idea of fun is now like crafts and Yu-Gi-Oh! And drawing and D&D. Like, I like to stay in now, and I just don't feel like the same person. I feel kind of out of place with the rest of the band, if that makes sense.
Are you enjoying life more now that you're sober?
That's a yes and no in different ways. So in 2017, life was the best. From 2017 to 2020, right before the pandemic, oh man, I was high, but like I wasn't out of control, but like my anxiety was low. I was in touch with myself spiritually and emotionally, and like I still am all that. But like, when you're sober, you have to find, it's hard being a sober guy with people who like to drink or, like get high like that, I'm not talking about like weed. I'm not talking about super hard.
I'm going to stop you. I want you to finish what you were saying. You were talking about why why you look back at 2017 to 2020 as such a great time.
Well, because how do I say this? I wasn't in my head. I was just me. I was just Richard. I had seen this horribleness within myself, and I knew what I didn't want to be. And I became the opposite. I became what I wanted to be. I was my true, authentic self. And then there was a relationship, lo and behold, that I thought was like the greatest thing in the world at the time, because I was with this person and I was in love. And like, I had, settling down for me was a hard thing to do, but I was like, I wanted to marry if this person said, let's get married, I was like, let's get married. Like I loved her. And it came crashing down. And it was really hard for me to lose them because they were my best friend. They were my best friend for a very, very long time. And I'd always liked them. And then we finally got together and I thought this was it. I was like, well, shit, I've been putting forth all this work into myself, and maybe like this is just it. Like I just kind of get my happily ever after. And it didn't happen. And the breakup, it wasn't like ugly in the sense that like I wasn't gonna like call her any names or anything. I just wanted her to be happy. But it was hard because I lost her, like I lost my best friend, and and that happened like at 2020 when that whole thing happened. And so I felt very lost and distraught for a very long time. Like until like about last year, it was starting to get a lot better. Like 2023, I felt like I was kind of coming into my own again.
So you had this period of time, 2017 to 2020, where you were feeling yourself. You were, as you put it, the thing you said that struck me the most was you were not in your head. You were in your life. Yeah.
I
mean, that's when that's just when life fucking sucks. Is when you're in your head and you're not actually in your life. And so you're in your life, 2017 to 2020. You're in this relationship that, after all this hard work and all this time, you're like, okay, finally, I have, my quote unquote happily ever after. Why, you don't have to get into it if you don't want to. You don't have to give us a ton of details or anything at all. But briefly, why do you think it crashed down?
What I have to say on that, I feel sounds projecty because I don't know. She never gave me an answer. She would leave and she'd come back and she'd leave and she'd come back. And she'd leave and she'd come back. And like, long story short, I have a few theories on what I think it was. And I don't know, like I said, because she never told me. I never got the closure. I kind of had to give myself closure on that. What I think happened was, one, I was just kind of there to be a space filler. I don't know if that's true or not. But, she had a hard time being alone, and I was her best friend, and it was pretty obvious that I liked her. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure I wasn't fucking coy about it or subtle. And so I think she knew that. And, you know, like, it's easy to be with someone who likes you so much, you don't have to worry about them, you know, because they're into you so much. You don't have to worry about anything because you kind of know that, like, this person isn't going to leave or cheat or anything, right?
Right, yeah.
It's like, have you ever seen Rick and Morty? It's at the end of one of the episodes where Morty says to, what's his crush in that
Jessica.
show? Yeah, he says, you wanted someone who liked you so much that you didn't have to like yourself. So that's one. Two, I think she had a hard time being happy. Because she seemed legitimately, and like I said, again, I don't know. She seemed pretty happy. Like, me and her kids got along really well. My daughter loved her. We, and like I said, we were really close friends. Like, we were the type of friends who...
She had kids too?
She did, yeah.
Okay. So you guys had like a little family going.
Yeah, you know, it's funny too, because like the guy who didn't want a family, I had a vasectomy after my daughter. Guy who didn't want a family, I was signing up for the family, you know? I was like, let's do this. Let's fucking do this. Right. And that was kind of a weird thing. You know, I caught myself in that, and I was like, you know, like, it's funny how things change.
And so, do you still talk to this woman, or is she gone out of your life?
We don't talk anymore. She hit me up. She sent me a friend request. And after everything, you know, it's one of those things. I felt like I spent so much time getting over her that after, like, I miss her. I love her. Like, it's hard not to love her. She's an amazing person, you know? Like, generally great person. A connection that, like, I haven't known before or since. But, like, it's hard to believe that anything is going to change at this point. I feel like the thing that had to change was me and her realizing that what we had wasn't sustainable, you know? Like, it just didn't work. Even if it felt like it should, even if she did feel the way I felt, it didn't work for whatever reason. And, like, that's okay. It didn't have to. It showed me love is real. It showed me that I'm capable of finding people to be in relationships with that I can be happy with and I feel like get me. It showed me a lot of positive. It had its negative effects because, like, I'll be honest, me trusting people and letting people in, hard to fucking do now. You know, it's true, but I know that it's not like the world isn't like, the world's terrible.
Yeah, well, it's crazy to have a period of your life or have a relationship relationship period of your life where you're like, oh my fucking God, I finally did it. I finally did it after all this time and all this work and all this things that didn't work out and all this stress and this anxiety. I'm finally living this version of my life where I'm, like we talked about, not in my head. I'm actually in my life. I'm with this person that I feel extremely secure in this relationship and as a whole extremely secure in my life. And to go from feeling that to having it, as you said, crash and burn, it's almost like you realize that feeling can never be counted upon ever again. And that's how you're operating from. And that's like the toughest goddamn thing on the planet Earth.
You know, you said it pretty well there. And like it's again this duality of mind, and that's you know anything about Buddhism or anything like that?
I maybe read a fucking quote on an Instagram.
I'm not gonna act like I'm like the most qualified person on Buddhism, but there is this thing about it where they talk about duality of the mind and how someone who is fighting with themselves can never be at peace. And that's what you said there is true, because I know in my rational mind that, you know, like love is possible if you just put yourself out there, if you give yourself if you don't
Hold on. Hold
overthink it.
on. You know that in your rational mind?
Of course, love is real. Look, just because love doesn't last doesn't mean it's not real. Love's a feeling. Love is something you give. It's just there. Like, why isn't love? I don't get. That's the thing I don't understand. Is like people are like, oh, love is love. Of course, it's real. You just had someone that you cared about, and it didn't work out, and that sucks. And I'm not saying it doesn't suck. I know it sucks. But what I'm saying is that of course love is real because it's what you feel, it's what you give, it's what you put in. Love doesn't always work out the way we want it to, but if we pay attention enough, you might learn something about what went wrong.
And what have you learned?
Oh, you got to be okay with letting go of people. You can't hang on to everyone. There's a lot of people that I wish stayed in my life, and if I had it my way, they would have. But I don't have it my way, and they didn't stay. And you know what? That's okay. They're going to go on to be happy with their life, and I'm going to go on to be happy with mine, and I'll have the time we shared together, and that's what's really important, right?
It's so tough, though.
Oh, yeah, no, it's fucking tough as shit. Look, I have met, here's how I know love is real. Because what I felt with that woman, I have felt with a bunch of people. Love isn't something you experience once with one person. It's something you experience multiple times with multiple people in multiple different ways. And like, you know, like, oh my God, there's another girl, and this is a little bit more recent.
Go ahead.
I'm not going to say her name. I'm not going to say her name or anything. But it was another girl that like I was head over heels crazy for. And she liked me a lot, but not in that way, right? And like I had some shit I had to deal with, I think, before we could be friends, because it was hard for me to let go of my feelings for her. But you know, at the same time, you know, like it's also hard to be around someone that you have feelings for like that when they don't, because then you feel like you're projecting shit onto them. And you're looking for these little clues and shit like that, you know? And
So let's jump to now.
Let's jump to now.
What are you doing? How are you? Well, I mean, how are you attempting to? You said you were trying to organize your life now at 35, yeah. And what is that? What does that look like?
You know, it looks like a progress. It looks like, you know, here, I'll give you like a rundown, right? So like, I don't do much on the weekday because like I try to like make sure I get to work. You know what I mean? Like, I want to have financial stability in my life, which is something that I kind of struggle with. And so, I try to watch less TV and I try to smoke less weed. So what I'll do is when I get off work, I'll go for a bike ride. I'll go to the gym. I'll go for a walk. Maybe I'll go to like a cool store that like I want to check out. And like, you know, that kind of doubles as me socialize. I use it as a double. I don't do much socializing, but like, you know, if you put yourself out there in the world, there's the potential to meet new cool people, right? So, like, you know, I try to not be in front of the TV until, like, 7 o'clock. 8 o'clock is when I'm like, okay, this feels like the right time for me to go get stoned and watch, like, stupid TV shows or play Yu-Gi-Oh! Or, like, you know, like, I draw. Like, at work, instead of watching TikTok all day when I'm on break, I draw because I love to draw and I want to get better. And so, like, you know, it's like trying to take these negative cycles and replace them with more positive ones that'll make me feel more fulfilled because I'm putting more time and effort into the things I like, right? Like I'm putting more time into working out, which makes me feel better about myself. I'm putting more time into my hobbies, like playing guitar or, you know, like just exploring and getting out there and trying. I guess the balance is, what is the balance between alone time, socializing, work, play, and rest, right?
You know, man, listen, you sound like you're doing a pretty decent job at putting your life together. I'm trying. I'm trying. It's hard because
it's hard, you know. We get in our own heads. It's hard. It's hard when you live in your head, and it's hard when you live in the moment, and the moment kind of sucks, you know. Like, so.
Do you feel like lately you've been living in your head, or you've been living in your life?
50-50 split, if I'm being honest. Like, sure. I'm meditating again, and I'm not like, so I noticed that like a lot of the shit, all the bad shit happens in my head because I think of all the shit that could go wrong, right? Mm-hmm. But, you know, I'm like, I remind myself, this is in my head. This isn't happening in real life, in real time. This is me thinking of consequences that don't usually fucking happen. So I just say, you know what? Unless that happens, unless this negative thing happens, I'm not going to think about it, because then I'm just priming myself for something that might never fucking happen. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I'm getting better at it. I'm getting a lot better at it, I would say. I feel like myself again more lately. One thing that I'm having trouble with is like breaking bad news to people, and I'm getting better with that because, you know, like sometimes like I have this tendency to stay in things, and this is kind of the band thing again. You know, like I love that band, and I'm not, the problem with quitting it is that I don't know if I really want to, but I kind of want to see what else is out there, you know? Like I've been going to punk shows and doing all this shit for so long, and it feels like there's so much to explore. And, you know, like, again, like I said, I feel like with the people I do it with, they're great people. I love them. They're not bad people. I don't have any, like, bad blood with them. But, like, what they want to do and how they want to do it and what I want to do.
Do you feel alone? Do you feel lonely?
There's a difference between alone and lonely.
Sure.
But no, not anymore. I feel alone, but I like to be alone. You know, you're only as alone as you make yourself.
Right.
The truth is that, like, I mean, it's hard, right? Because we're all complex beings. There's so much to all of us that it's hard to feel like anyone could really know us. And it's scary to think that anyone could accept us because, let's face it, a lot of us have a hard time accepting ourselves. I feel alone sometimes. It's a feeling that comes and it goes. I'm not going to act like I'm immune to it. But when I feel alone, I reach out to my friends. I reach out to my daughter, my fucking, you know, like I put myself, to remind myself that alone is just a state of being. Being lonely sucks. And, you know, you're going to meet people who don't get you or maybe have some kind of ulterior motive for what they want to do with you. But, like, there are people who generally will like you. And if you give people a chance and you can know when to say, okay, this relationship, friendship, romantic, family, whatever kind of relationship it is, this relationship feels unhealthy. And then you can communicate and address that. You're like, look, you know, like, this doesn't feel right, but this does. And I think that's how you kind of combat it, right? The loneliness.
You know, Richard, I appreciate this conversation. I really do.
Can I say something to you?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I really appreciate you, Gek. I do. Like,
man.
No, for real. Like, honestly, and like to everyone who's called in too, your show and the people who've called in and you with your advice, it's helped me get to points where I'm at now, you know, because we all need help. And like, you know, like, it's funny. I'm over talking. You had something you wanted to say and I cut you off. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I just ramble. I will ramble. Unless you say what you want to say, I will ramble on a tangent and get way off course.
It's all right. I was just going to say, I enjoyed this conversation. And, you know, this is kind of one of the things I like doing about this podcast is that I just get to kind of hear about, you know, other people's, like, lived experience, you know, which honestly, is nice. Because it feels like that's kind of feels like it feels very authentic to me to get to hear other people's lived experiences, because it's like, it's something you can't argue with, you know, like there's, you know, everyone can go and say like, you know, whatever, like I don't know, whatever political opinions or talking about like, you know, bullshit or whatever. But I like hearing about people's fucking lives and feelings for this kind of reason.
That's why I love your show, because it kind of gives you empathy towards others. Like, we all look at people from a perspective, and when we're in a shitty mood, it's easy to say this person's being a bitch or this person's being an asshole, but there's so much going on with those people. And so when you can hear their side, you really get this sense of where they're coming from. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much more that we don't know. And like, if we kind of opened up to that, it's hard to do. I'm not going to say it's not. I have a hard time with it. But, you know, like, and that's why I love your show, because it's like, you know, people probably look at, like, one of my favorite calls was the dude who was talking about the nitrous and how he thinks he should quit, but he's like, not sure if he should.
The night shift.
And what?
How did you just talk about the night shift? How old was this? Do you remember?
This was like a few weeks ago. So he was telling you he had like a big spiritual awakening on nitrous. He did like a bunch of nitrous.
The nitrous. Yeah, the nitrous guy. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and it's funny because I really related with that. I was like, yeah, no, I've fucking been there. And you were trying, and I thought it was funny because, like, you guys were both trying to say something, and I felt like neither one of you kind of got with the other. Like, I get where you were coming from with it, that he didn't need the drugs, because you don't, right? You don't need the drugs. But, like, I'll be honest, spiritual journeys, you know, they're kind of synonymous with, like, fucking drugs, let's face it. Like, how many people have you heard say, I went and did ayahuasca and had this huge religious experience? You could have the grand.
Sure. Yeah, you're right. I read comments. I probably shouldn't, but also maybe I should.
You shouldn't.
I should. I know I should. I read a lot. I read a lot of YouTube comments, and like on Spotify, I read every comment. I read every YouTube comment and Spotify comment. And somebody
that? How?
It's not
how do you feel when you do that?
Well, somebody commented on that call, and they wrote, Lyle was taking a moral high ground on this call. And that upset me, because the last thing I ever want to do on any of these phone calls is take any kind of moral high ground. But then I re-listened to the phone, but I understood where he was coming from, I guess.
If it's any constellation, I didn't feel like you were taking a moral high ground. I kind of thought, it's hard to know, you know, because drugs are a whole different mindset, and you kind of have to be like have been someone who has been there to really understand that kind of a mindset, right? Because, like, you can explain what acid and mushrooms feel like, but, like, it's one of those things you kind of got to experience to actually know.
Well, anyway, you know, thanks for having this conversation, Rich, and I'm glad to hear that everything seems like, you know, I know you're talking about sorting your life out, but I think you're doing a good job, and I really sincerely I feel a lot of what you're talking about, and I empathize with it in a lot of, you know, my own life, and so you know, I really appreciate you coming on here and sharing all of this.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me.
Is there any
I wasn't
other?
sure I was even gonna get it. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I wasn't sure I was gonna get on because I called you like so much. I was like, oh, I probably look like a weirdo.
Is there anything else you want to talk about or say to the people at the computer before we go?
I mean, there's always something to talk about, but I do have this to say before I go to the people of the audience. To all you beautiful people listening, I want it to be known I have 6 dicks, 1 for fucking and 1 for fighting.
You have okay. You said you had 6. You had 6 dicks.
1 for fucking and 1 for fighting.
But you said you had 6. What are the other 4 for?
Subscribe to my OnlyFans, and you'll find out, baby.
All right. Take care, Richard.
Good job, man. I love you.
So I'm sorry that I didn't give him ample time to promote his OnlyFans. But if anyone caught his band, let me know how it is. I didn't catch his band, but if anyone catches his band and decides to look it up, let me know in the comments of this video / podcast. what you guys think. I have a few post call thoughts. I'll just reiterate what I said. One of the reasons I like doing this podcast is, again, like I feel really grateful for this opportunity that I have to get to like facilitate other people talking about their lived experience, because it's one of the most real things in life to me is, again, just people being like, this is what my life has been like. This is how I felt about it. And it's not something you can like argue with. It's just real. And so, and again, I empathized with a lot of what Richard was talking about. He was talking about really difficult situations and feelings that are tough. And it's really cool. I'm just like thinking about it because I sometimes I just fucking like do this show and I don't think about it, and I get these little opportunities to really be like, hey, that was actually really something right there. And again, he's talking about really real things, and I like the idea that, I'm listening and it's resonating with me, and I hope other people who are listening, it resonates something with them. And yeah, I don't know if I feel like I had something else I wanted to say about all this stuff, but I forgot. And I have to go pee. So thanks, Richard, for sharing your story. And good luck. We're all trying our best, dude. Good goddamn. Life is crazy. Attention, listeners of the Therapy Gecko podcast. Did you know that I do a live version of this podcast on stage, in person, in front of real people, and that I'm doing this live show in several cities across the United States and Europe this fall, and that tickets are available right now at therapygeckotour.com or at the link in the episode description? It is all true. I'm currently on my third tour doing Therapy Gecko live all around the country, and it is the most fun, sick, amazing thing ever, and you should come out and be a part of it. The shows involve a mix of material and presentations from myself, combined with a group gecko therapy session where members of the audience come on stage to share things from their lives in front of a big group of people, just like we do here on the podcast. Whether you're a fan of the podcast or you have no idea what this is and you clicked on it by accident, you're going to have a great time at the live show. Once again, tickets are available right now at therapygeckotour.com or at the link in the episode description. These are really fun shows. They're always wild. They're always unpredictable, and I hope to see you guys there.
Atticus. Hello, what's up, Lyle?
Hey, what's up? How you doing, dog?
Good. Sorry, one sec. Yeah, you're good, Cass. Sorry, I was just talking to my coworker.
What is your name, my child? Sorry, that was weird. Let's cut that out.
I'm like
let's leave it in. Whatever.
Like,
We're leaving it in. We're leaving it in. Sorry, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm the one who I fucked this up. What's your name, sir?
My name is Atticus. Like the book, like To Kill a Mockingbird.
Like To Kill a Mockingbird. I like that. What's up, Atticus? How's what you want to talk about on the show today?
Few things, but I think the biggest one is like I feel like I'm scared to chase my dreams because they're kind of not normal. Like, they're not the normal path that people take.
Well, you're talking to the right professional internet gecko.
That's what I kind of figured. You're like a lime green man, so you got it.
What's the dream?
So, like, I really want to grow, like, recreational cannabis for my state. In like a kind of an industrial level, not just like in your backyard thing, but like in a facility, like a greenhouse.
There's a lot of people that do that. That's not that crazy.
I mean, it's kind of crazy. So like I live kind of in the deep Midwest where it's still kind of frowned upon. So I'm a little worried of like the image it brings. But
the image. What do you? Okay, well now we're not. Now that's a different issue.
Yeah, because I mean, I think a lot of people think of like people who indulge in, cannabis are kind of, I don't want to say they're like losers, but some of them are viewed as degenerate. And I'm a little worried that it's going to make me fail of that image. Like I'm worried of what's going to happen.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I'm really going to guess that about 95% of people listening to this are extremely high right now.
Dude, I'm high at work right now.
Where do you work?
I work for my father, who owns a horticulture company. So I work in the field already.
Okay.
So I'm currently in a plant yard looking at sumac.
What is sumac?
It's like essentially like a type of brush or a type of like shrub that grows in typically like more arid regions at like a hot temperature. So it's the specific variety is tiger eye.
Okay. That sounds cool. I don't know what a tiger eye is, but we could keep going, because if I ask you what a tiger eye is, you're gonna say it's a specific type of.
Forever.
Yeah, you're gonna keep going. You'd be like, it's a specific type of notoram, and I would be like, what's a notoram?
Yeah, no, we are
keep
kind
going.
of like we do.
All right, so again, I'm still
okay.
Curious why you're so down on your idea of growing weed.
Well, okay, so like the issue is like, since my father owns a company, he like the whole thing is that it's been owned by generationally. So like my great grandfather like started it, and like my grandfather ran it, and then like my dad has it, and now it's kind of like it's weighing on me. I do it, but I want to make it like my own thing. You know, I want to change the business into like a cannabis company, because we already have like all of the stuff. You know, like every piece of like fertilizer, you know, soil, water types, you know, everything.
Okay. You're trying to turn your great grandfather's wholesome little cornfield into a fucking a weed thing.
I want to grow some really nice weed, and I want to provide it to people at like a fair cost, at like with good branding, and try and really just sell it as like more than just like some like bullshit idea, because I feel like some people don't have a lot of faith in it, you know, like, because a lot of people say they're like, I want to grow weed, you know.
I mean, I think that's cool, man. So, like, how old are you now?
I'm like 20. I can't even smoke it legally within my state, but I already grow it, so I'm kind of like too deep in, you know, like it's too late.
Well, okay, so the idea is that eventually you're going to take over your grandfather's farm, or your dad's farm. But if you're only 20, that sounds like it's something that's not going to happen for a long time.
No, so the weird thing is like it kind of is and it kind of isn't. So like, since my dad, he took it over when he was like 30 something or 28. So I'm like 20 right now, but I kind of already have quite a large role here, because I go to school, sure, like during the full time, like I'm a student. But I actually have worked here since I was 11 years old, and I'm already running the wholesale department for like plants. So like we sell to other businesses.
Okay. It just feels to me like it seems as though these are good things to be thinking about, but it sounds like you're like too early on the journey to be really like encountering any hard problems.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess the fear is like I got to commit to like getting some school going. I'm just very filled with anxiety of like, you know, how to take that step and let myself kind of grow into the role, I guess. Because like my biggest thing is I kind of want to drop out of school and try and dedicate a lot more time to running a bigger operation for myself and save up some money so I can try and, because it's impossible to get a loan as a weed business, because like banks don't really trust you because it's a cash operation. Like no one buys like from a dispensary with like their credit card. They don't really do that.
I think it's a cool idea. What would you go to school for?
Well, so right now I'm going to school for business, but there's a few local colleges that started running cannabis programs. But I also kind of want to get a horticulture degree, because I took all my generals already. So I only have one more year left to finish, and theoretically I could just take 8 horticulture classes and graduate.
Do you need to go to college to start a weed farm?
Dude, that's kind of what my friends and my mom were saying, but it's like, it's a little scary to make that jump into like, you know, throwing everything else I have already built up, kind of in the sense of like not throwing it away, but like you mean your credits? Yeah, the credits, the cost, because I already spent like $30,000 on going to school, so it feels a little wacky.
Okay, stop right there. Hold on, stop real quick. Okay, you already spent $30,000 on going to school. How much more money would you spend if you continue to go to school and you graduated?
Like probably a solid like 15 to 20,000 is what it's kind of looking like.
All right, so your 30 grand of debt would turn into 50 grand of debt.
Oh, I don't have debt. I paid it out of pocket. So the issue is I'm gonna go into debt.
Okay, so you have forecoming debt.
Yeah, like a large amount, and I kind of don't want to do it because it's not necessary. I feel like to chasing my dream, you know, because for you being a gecko, you know, was that a hard jump to go from being like a normal guy trying to do whatever to being like a gecko?
Well, this gecko costume cost me $60, so it's a significantly lower overhead. Significantly lower overhead than what you were trying to do.
Yeah,
but
no, that's very true.
Here's my opinion, and this is just like, because like, all right, I went to a film school, and like the amount of money that it costs to go to film school, you could easily spend actually making fucking movies. And to you, and I don't know, and give me a sec, I don't know your industry, but I would just fucking take out a calculator and do some research and go, okay, how much does it cost for me to upstart a business? How much does it cost for me to finish school? And I'm not saying, I'm swear on my life, I'm not telling you drop out of school and start a weed farm, because I don't know. But like, I'm telling you that you should think about the math involved in this decision. Yeah.
No, you're right. I mean, the gains are there long term. Like like, you know, people say like weed and cannabis is like the new tobacco or alcohol, you know, like everyone's smoking weed. So I kind of see it as like, you know, I could provide a product that people really like, but also like me, myself, I like knowing it's like clean, you know, like I don't like buying weed from like people who do it illegally because you don't really know what's in it, in the sense of like,
well, I have news for you, caller. All the weed you do is weed done illegally because you're 20.
Yeah, okay, yeah, but my own weed I grow is much better than the shit I buy, you know, like it's going to be a lot like cleaner, because that's what I do right now is like I grow in my house. So I grow like 4 to 5 plants, which get me about like a pound every few months.
Here's what I'll say. You just whatever. Here's what I want to say for this thing.
Yeah.
Is in your consideration of your decisions. I think the important things to think about are what you want to do with your fucking life.
Yeah.
How much money each thing would cost. How much money each path you want to take require, like logistical things. The things to not be thinking about are, what does my fucking dad want me to do? Which one, you know, are people going to think I'm a loser because I grow weed? Like, those are just the things to not be thinking about.
That is very fair. I feel like it's the underlying anxiety of like taking a step out of what I'm doing currently and kind of, you know, jumping off into the pool is kind of the scary part. I think that's kind of the hurdle is like, I mean, in my like free time, I read a lot of like horticulture books about the stuff. Like, I know I like, I'm doing the steps, but it feels it's scary to like go all in, like to tell some, like my dad, who I respect a lot, like, hey dad, I want to take your business and change it into something new. And he of course encourages me to do like chase my dreams, but I don't know if he'd encourage me to chase my weed dreams.
I'll say this, my gut is telling me this, and I'm going to try to say something I'm going to try to work beyond my typical diplomatic answers to these kinds of things.
Oh, wow.
My gut is telling me, and I mean this. The fact that you're sitting around reading horticulture books on your own time is like, you're developing a skill, like a very hard skill.
Yeah.
And that tells me that no matter what happens to you, you're going to be just fine.
You know, that gives me a lot of reassurance, Mr. Gecko, man. Like, that's making me feel very, very, that it is nice to hear, you know, that more than just people that are supposed to care about you in the sense of, like, you know, your family and friends, but, like, hearing someone else say like, yeah, you got it, you gotta just go for it.
Yeah, well, I guess all I'm saying is that you have a skill, which is more important than like a degree, and so you're gonna be fine.
Perfect. That's great. But yeah, no, that's good.
By the way, I'm gonna take a second and be a hypocrite, and I'm gonna say here's a weird thing about weed is like I've been smoking weed habitually since I was like 15, and I keep smoking it like thinking that it doesn't affect me in any way, but I'm 100% sure it's made my memory. I'm 40% sure. I'm 60% even right. I think it's made me a little stupider. I'm gonna keep doing it. I have no plans to stop. I have plans to stop doing it. Like as I continue, I want to just be honest with myself and go, this is. I don't know if this is as beautiful a thing. I don't know if this is a good thing for me to do, but I have no plans to stop.
You know, I don't want to say it, but like my grandfather died of like some low-key lung problems from smoking cigs for the last like 30 years, and he also probably had gut cancer because he ate terribly. So I'm kind of just thinking about it. I'm like, you know, my grandfather's just me, but in a different way. You know, like everyone's got their little habits. You know, you might as well enjoy it if it makes you happy. You know.
I don't think I've ever heard a doctor say that, but let's go with it.
Hey, I'm not a doctor. I just grow this shit. You know, it's you know, you get high on your own supply.
Is there anything else you want to say to the people at the computer before we go?
You know, I would love to say is that everyone needs to be a little nicer to themselves. You know, like life's tough, but you're a little tougher.
That's very sweet of you to say.
Absolutely. Enjoy your night, Mr. Gecko. I hope you get to smoke a nice doink, and remember that the lawyer in To Kill a Mockingbird spoke to you.
Yeah, I'll try to think about that when I'm smoking weed. Okay, have a good night.
Think about that. I love you.